Hello, this next lesson is going to cover electromagnetism, which is the magnetic fields that get created by movement of electrons in wires. And so here we go. We've got electrons flowing in a wire, and so electrons are going that way. That's equivalent to positives flowing the other way based on the traditional definition, right? So we're going to talk about the kind of magnetic field that they produce. Just like magnets or electrons moving in atoms makes magnetic fields, right? In fact, we'll end up doing that exact kind of one soon. Right now, we're just talking about electrons flowing in a straight path, which is not like in atoms. And so just this is what happens, okay? So basically, if you have, that's how you remember it anyways, right? So the left hand rule for this is if you stick your thumb or your left hand in the direction of electron flow, then your fingers curl in the direction of the magnetic north, like that, okay? So that diagram, three-dimensionally sort of trying to illustrate here, but you got north going down in the front and then up in the back, okay? The other way you can show this is the dot represents the point of an arrow coming towards you, so electron flow out of the page. And so you'd have electron flow out of the page, you'd have your thumb pointing towards you out of the page, and your fingers on your left hand would curl this way. So my art skills will be something to be desired here, but basically your fingers are going to wrap this way, right? And then your thumb is going to be pointing like towards you. I don't know, like I didn't do a diagram for this one on purpose, but you know, you'd have something like that, right? You'd have your fingers wrapped around like that. Whatever. Terrible drawing, but the that leaves you with this as your direction. Let me just get rid of that because it's embarrassing. Yeah, and so if you had electrons going into the page, flip your hand around, point your thumb into the page, your fingers are going to be curling counterclockwise. Okay, so that's just the way to remember magnetic fields that are produced by current or electrons flowing in a straight conductor. So the left-hand rule for electrons, I like to point out that there's an L in both of those, right? And so you've got your left-hand rule for electrons, you know, put your thumb in the direction of the electron flow, your fingers curl in the direction of the magnetic field. And the direction north would point. And so if you wanted to think about traditional current as flow of positives, literally you just flip everything around. You use your right hand. So take your right hand, put it in the direction of the positive flow, and then again, north you see curling down in front and up and behind, and again, clockwise and counterclockwise, right? So in this case, you've got your right hand with your thumb pointing to the page. Your fingers are naturally going to curl the way your fingers bend, unless you're massively double jointed, right? You're going to curl the normal way, and you're going to have clockwise. In the far one on the right here, you have your thumb pointed out of the page towards yourself. Your right hand, you point your thumb towards your nose, your fingers are automatically going to be curling counterclockwise. Okay, so that's your right hand rule for positives. And so I like to, it's really kind of weird that we think of positives flowing, and so it's like, right, yeah, that makes sense. Some sarcasm. No extra charge. Yeah, so there's just diagrams of all of that stuff, right? So yeah, the vertical version of this, you got a wire going with current flowing up. Your right hand would make electrons be flowing in that direction, sort of counterclockwise on that three-dimensional page, whereas your left hand pointing the thumb down would lead to the exact same curling direction of the fingers and so on. Okay, so those are your right hand, left hand rule for a straight conductor. So that's our magnetic field, right? So this, of course, agrees or explains whichever you want to think of it as. It's consistent with the Ørsted's principle. If you have electrons flowing and you had which direction do they show here? It's probably going to have electrons. By looks of it, you have electrons going this way. So electrons are going this way. Or I better use a different color. So electrons are going to be flowing this way. And then, so your thumb would point in your left hand, your thumb would point this way, and then your fingers would curl this way, right? right? Fingernails, thumbnail, and so on, right? So you've got, oh, actually, looks like I've got it the other way around. It looks like they have the arrow going the other way, right? And so my diagram would be the other way around. It would be the electrons would be going the other way. My diagram would be the other way around. But I think the experience of me, doing that by accident, we got the directions this way. We want to have our thumb be pointing this way. So I'm going to have my thumb like this, and then my fingers are going like this. I was all happy that my diagram looked a little bit better than my last one. Realized it's completely backwards. But yeah, so we've got our magnetic north wrapping up in front and down and behind, right? Like it is there, right? Up in front and up in front and down and behind. And then we have our electrons going this way. And so that is, you can see, you can picture this north continuing being down in the bottom this way. There's your north pointing that way along with it, and so on. Right? So they had the arrow in the coil, but also the arrow in the compass, showing that the north in the compass rotated to be in line with that curling or that looping magnetic field. The vertical version is kind of neat. So magnetic field around a straight conductor. Oh darn it, I didn't have that. I have to hang on a sec here. Let's see if I can do this. All right, I managed to my hotspot for my phone hooked up because the network's still not working. But you see these compasses are all lined up to north, and then this is a vertical wire, and then the current gets turned on, and compasses all align in sort of a radial circle around. And so we could analyze that we might have electrons flowing up, in which case the north is going to be aligned like this, in which case these would all be the norths leading the point and pointing direction of the circle. Yeah, so I'll picture that scenario like I pointed out there. If you had the thumb pointing up, your fingers would curl around this way. That's what they ended up doing, right? So if you had a loop of wire, and the next thing is if you had a coil of wire. So one way you can do is you can have another hand rule. This is the right hand rule version for current. So if you curl your fingers in the direction of the coil of wire, so the direction the electrons are going to, or the current's going to go, and your thumb points in the direction of magnetic north. So that's what that's showing there. The electron flow version would be your left hand, fingers pointing in the direction of the coil of wire, and then your thumb would point in the direction of magnetic north. So these are equivalent, of course, right? I'll just show you quick here the idea of what you could do is you could analyze, let's do the left-hand rule version because we're talking about electrons, really. So if I have electrons going this way, and if I had my thumb pointed in the direction of electron flow, then I'd have my fingers curling up and around like this, right? And so I'd have magnetic north up like this. And so the magnetic north up all the way along, right? From all of those analysis of the electrons flowing this way, right? Electron flowing this way. And so we have an up and so on. So a whole bunch of magnetic norths up out of the page combined to be this total result of out of page, right? So the north out of page. But instead of having to analyze each of the individual spots where we have electrons flowing through a straight conductor, like a section of wire, a small straight section of wire, instead of having to analyze a bunch of those and piece it together to be a circle overall result, there's this new left-hand rule and right-hand rule, of course, for current version. Okay, so that's the rule we're going to show here. It looks just like that. Of course, you wrap your fingers around in the direction of the flow of the electrons or positives or whatever. So this is your right hand, so it'd be flow of positives. Okay, so that's the analysis there further of a coil of wire. If you have a whole bunch of coils, right, then you have electrons flowing, in this case, flowing up this wire here. And so right there, we got electrons going up. And then so we have left hand rule, the thumb pointing up, and then your fingers, if you do this with your own left hand, your fingers will be curling to the right and behind, and then to the left in front. Right, so the left in front right here. Right, your fingers on your thumb is doing this. Right, fingers in your hand doing that. So they're wrapping like this to the left in front, and then to the right and behind. Right. So a whole bunch of those all do that. Notice all the ones in the middle are pointing to the right, and so all of those norths point to the right. And then if you took your left hand and just curled it, like pointed it like this, and then had your thumb and your fingers curling like this, you can think of the fingers curling like that direction as being the coil of wire itself, right? So this is the new left-hand rule, is that this is the electron flow. Right, this is electron flow with your left hand, and this is the north. Okay, so we'll write that one down as well, but it's just ways to help you remember what the magnetic field direction will be, and that's the rule. That's the look of the rule there. Your fingers curling in the direction of the electron flow, and your thumb points in the north. So I'd have to say your left-hand rule for coiled conductors, right? Curl your fingers in the direction of the flow of electrons in the coils. Your thumb ends up points, let's just say, in the direction of magnetic north. So the magnetic field that's induced by that would be pointing to the right in this case. So the right-hand rule version is just the opposite, right? If you want to switch this to be the right-hand rule, then you'd have the coil of fingers in the direction of positives, and then your thumb points in magnetic north, and they'll give the same result as always. All right, so that's just some of the information about what kind of magnetic fields form around current carrying conductors. And so each of these, you should be able to just put your left hand if it's electron flow, and right hand if it's positive flows, and so on. So this is the first set of questions you do is if it's electron flow, and then in the second set of questions, think of it as, well, what if this was positives? They'd be equivalent if everything had switched direction. So we could do that as the way here. So basically for positives, it's the other way, right? And so in which case, if we did that, then all of the results would be the same. Maybe it's better for you to look at it as, well, if this meant, then you get the results that are the opposite though, right? So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other at that point, as long as you know how to use the hand rules to represent what you're told, right? So if in this case, this is a new situation where this is flow of positives, then of course your magnetic fields would end up however they end up, in the opposite directions, obviously. Because it's opposite electron flow or electric flow charges, let's say. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you later. Thanks for watching.